Hello and welcome everyone to GIG's Community Call. This is part of a series that we have been hosting for the past month, part of an EU Horizon project that GIG is a partner to called make-a-thek. Make-a-thek is a project that aims to build and activate makerspaces within the network of libraries in Europe, and it has a special focus on sustainable fashion. So the idea is to have these makerspaces as community spaces held for people to do all kinds of making and repairing and creation around the topics of sustainability, but particularly in the area of fashion. So we've had so many great speakers in the past month covering different areas and what constitutes sustainability, fashion, traditional crafts. We've had one last month talking about traditional crafts where we had a perspective from Iraq with our speaker Saleh and another perspective from Ukraine, and it turned out into a very, very interesting discussion. I recommend you go back and visit our YouTube channel to also look at that one. But with this being said, today we're also very, very happy to have with us two incredible speakers from two different parts of the world, not very far part of the world, I would say north in a way. So we have Omar Abdelhalim from Egypt, Cairo, who's working, who's a founder of the initiative or a company called Shagara, working with traditional patterns and natural dyes. And we have with us also Rafael Calado from Portugal, Lisbon, who is a long member of the Fab Lab network, but have also founded the Biolab in Lisbon, where he has been working on biomaterials. It's a very interesting mix where I'm very, very excited to see. We've already been chatting a little bit before this talk, and I can see so many bridges and overlaps. So as we do it normally, we're going to hand over to our speakers to introduce themselves and tell us more about their projects and what they're working on. And then we'll open up the discussion for everyone here today in the room to ask questions, to tell us also more about their work. Yeah. So without further ado, I will hand over to our incredible Omar. Omar, please take the floor, introducing yourself and your work.
Okay, hi Fazia, hi Rafael, hi everyone. I am Omar Abdelhalim. I don't know how to introduce myself professionally. I think that, I don't know, but I think that I have this mix of professions, but I think it's things, I don't know, in art and design and architecture, you have this ability to dive into different interests, but at the end, you have a quest and you have different tools to reach your quest in life. This is how I see it, and this is how my life turned on. I linked in a way my professional life to my personal life, and this happened throughout experience in life. So I will just take you through what how I went, how I came to this point, and maybe after talking I can share some slides and my website, and but a brief thing that in Shagara Textile, we are two co-founders. It's me and Noher, and we are both architects. And we have a special interest in craft and its relation to community. And we do meet. Hello? Hi?
Yes, we can hear you. It was
okay?
Cutting a little bit, but it's fine.
Yeah. We don't. This is also something I'd like to debate in it. It's we don't mean by community only a community as a community work. I consider, or through my practice, I consider having a community into our practice, a community of designers or a community of craft and designers, trying to learn from the traditional way doing the balance between work and life is something that I think it's very important. And in a way, we question the professional practice itself and how to live while being creative and having a practice that connects to us. So cutting it short, maybe I'll go into just a personal switch. I was in architecture study, and I really liked architecture, and I still like it. But I had like in the last year, I had my mother passing away, and I had to question. I had a strong feelings into. I wanted to express myself into what I'm doing, and I couldn't do it into architecture. While you can do it in other ways, but I couldn't do it because of the professional level of dealing with life. So I had this quest of how civilization used to work and live and express themselves so that they can go forward. And I also questioned whether art should express what I feel, and do I have the right to do this? And from here, it was like a small rupture with architecture. Uh, like I like to say it was a dive, but it helped me to come back to reconciliate in architecture with architecture in another way. But this was the main quest that led me to go to London and make a master of textile design. The only thing that I think that London was a good start in a way was that they were able to take the quest of how to express yourself into modern craft and design project or quest into a subject of a master while having a background in architecture. And this quest was translated into artistic approach, which was how would I express myself as Amar into a project that can lead to how to say a product at the end that everyone can use. So as you mentioned that we use traditional design. This is not exactly what we use. We tried. The quest was that in Egypt we have different civilizations that came to us from the pharaonics and till the Christian and the Islamic, and all we, in a way, we connect to it, but in a way, as Egyptian now, and this was my feeling. I don't know if this is the real feeling of everyone, but I think we have a big gap between who we are and the people or the civilization that produces these beautiful architecture or textiles. So I considered my work was on the smallest element of design, which was the motif, and how to relate it to my feeling, and then to push, like for example, my feeling of loss of my mother. It can be a universal feeling that everyone goes through. So the quest was that modern life was designed to make this gap between your emotional and your personal person, and to be into the realm of machine. And it was exactly orchestrated to be like this, so things be efficient. So this quest, I did it on the level of textile, because what I could how to say, what I could experience is on a level that I can control. And also I had some level of a dream, and I had like previous books about African textiles, talking about it can be like a romantic thing, and it can be not existing anymore. But the idea of a village, all the village, the mother are working in block printing and then using natural dyes, and then the fabric comes through their houses, and then it finishes washing into the river. So this was like the idea I had, and I did my master. Yeah, I did my master around this, and at the end, what I had as conclusion is that I produce stories that have values related to a feeling that can the society feel in certain moment, and and I had to push it to a level that anyone can relate to it, so that when you see
Yes.
the flower, the certain flower, you say, ah, this is the flower of hope, or so you can relate it to other cultures, because all cultures talks
Universal.
about it. Yeah, but as you, as a modern person, you can just see it as the abstract value of giving or of. So this was the idea, and afterwards I didn't learn in London the block printing technique. I met a friend that is from India but is from the States, and I went afterwards to India, to Rajasthan, to Jodhpur, and I learned about the block printing and natural dyes. And then I came back to Egypt, where it took me almost 10 years. In the middle, I had my friend that used to be my colleague in college, that was interested by what I'm doing, by just posting and seeing what I'm doing. And she pushed the initiative to be into business, because she invested in it. And this also made me believe that there is something that could be sold, because I was always seeking to have the right
So
color, the right shade.
I don't want you to jump right away into Shagara, because I would love to hear more, and maybe we could show us also, because you've made us all curious to see basically the type of work that you've produced. But what a fascinating journey. And you've raised so many questions related to this, like separation, the modern separation between our production, who we are, what we work, and our role in life and what we do. And this just um, will open up so many questions when we go back again to asking and considering sustainability in making and all of that. I would like to give on right now to Raphael, so that he also can tell us more about his journey and what he does, and really what it means to him and why biomaterials. Raphael?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Umar. Hi, Fadia. Well, I'm an architect too. I have practice on architecture. I was a coordinator on big practice. And at some point there was a challenge. I started coordinating Fab Lab Lisboa. And then at some point, I started to go towards more the sustainability area. And I founded Repair Café Lisboa 8 years ago. I don't know if you know the kind of projects, repair cafes. So we started with our community repairing stuff, and actually we were also repairing clothes and all that. And so that was my first connection with that area. At some point, I started to feel that we needed to have like a bio corner at the lab. So again, connected with the sustainability. And I convinced somehow the city council and the university to start and to support the Biolab Lisboa. So it was 3 years ago. We started in 2022. And we are a space that is open to the community, but I can show you maybe a presentation. Can I share with you my screen?
Yes,
Okay,
you can.
let's see if I find. Okay, so this is. Let me check this. Okay, so this is the small presentation. If I take too long, please let me know. Oh, this is in full step mode. That's not the idea. Let me check where I stop this. Okay, not here. Okay. Okay. So Biolab Lisboa was founded, as I said, 3 years ago, and our main mission is this is blah blah. It's not very important. Actually, the importance is to just to give the And also, this is numbers. It's also not very important. It was from presentation from the last year. So sorry, I'm in vacation, so I just picked this on my video. So these are some images what we do. Actually, if you are somehow connected with, I try to stop this, but I can't. Well, let me check. Maybe you can help me. I think this is in full mode. I never know where I stop. Okay, so Paddy, maybe you can help me on this. For
Yes,
me to stop, I can stop it where
you
I
want to
think
stop
it's
the slide
yeah. The
or
presentation, yeah, it's stopped now. Yeah.
okay, great.
Okay, so this is some areas that we are working with. For example, this one is an exhibition of algae. So we're working with alginates that also can produce threads. For example, we were in Mexico, in Fab Mexico. They were working with farmers, and with that we can also produce or work with natural fibers and all that. This is, for example, a project that Carolina, with those colored table, she's working on biochromes, coloring with bacteria. Sorry, this is really in full mode. I can't stop this. Sorry, you're going to see this flashing on your left. There are people working. So designers, it was a challenge for designers to work with algae, and so they started to do that kind of materials. On the middle, there is some guy with a woman. They are talking about plants. So we also gather with plants and by all that part. On the right again, we have an artist, Rainbow, that is in Gulbenkian. It's a foundation here. We had a regenerative menu project with her. So she's working with the resources of the Tagus River and working with all that plants and all that and creating some stuff. This is workshops. For example, on the left is one in Croatia. Another is so we tried to.
I think we lost you, Raphael, right? It's not just me, is it? Okay. Please post for now. Okay. So we'll just give it a couple of minutes before he's back. But like super interesting, just seeing this work on biomaterials. Maybe very quick question to the audience here. Who, maybe by show of hands, how many of you have worked with, let's say, alternative textiles, whether it's biomaterials or maybe, I don't know, new non-mass produced textile? Okay, I see. Very good. Amazing. So until Raphael is back, maybe we could go back to you again, Omar, because there's so much actually that I have in mind about your project. First of all, thank you so much for sharing your personal story. I think it's very interesting to understand the background for how you came where you are, an architect that was looking for other ways to include her work life as a form of self-expression. So this is really a very interesting thing. You talked about the separation in modern life between work and ourselves. And I always have that question doing what I do and being part of this amazing community that's called Gig. And my question to you would be, when Shagara came to be, do you think you've answered that quest? Do you feel like you have fulfilled that part that was not happy with how, I mean, with how modern work lifestyles were like as an architect or other thing?
In a way, yes, but you realize after it takes you like 10 years to get to a point that you can't solve it all. You have to have some sort of satisfaction in a point, and then you have to, in a way, be part of the market, but it's not very smooth. I can also,
Can I
but
ask
I don't
you to
know
maybe
when
share with us? Yes.
Yeah, I can share just
Until
something so
Raphael is
that
here.
the
I mean, it's
visuals.
fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, please go ahead.
1 second. Can you see my screen now or no?
Not yet.
Yep.
Now
you can see?
No, no.
No. So what should I do to? Did you allow me to?
So there is
okay.
a button on the left. It's called share. You could just press on it, and then it would make you choose your screen.
On the left.
So it's in the bottom. I mean,
1 second.
left bottom.
Share. Okay. Share screen.
And then you choose, yes, exactly. Great.
Okay.
So now you can see your Zoom and you can move on to your browser or
okay,
yes,
now you can
great.
see. Yeah. Okay, so I just I will go through this PDF. It was an old PDF explaining how we started. But I want to just to this is the fabric we produce. This is an indigo fabric. But I will go back to explaining.
One question. Could you turn your screen so that we see it?
Okay.
That would be amazing.
No, this is better.
Yes, really good.
Okay, so this is a timeline how I started. This is what I tried to tell you, that it took me like almost 10 or more years to start Shagara. But the story here started from like a dress my mother gave me, where I started to see that there is some level of belonging you can have to textiles. And this book, and then here's just explaining the idea behind relating to block printing and natural dyes, and that this quest was also raised by William Morris before us, which is how to skip the industrialization, which made which was the main quest of industrialization, is that to take the craft and the know-how from the human and put it to the machine. And even if this, you can also go around it and produce things that have meaning, you have to also find a way to make yourself there as a human. But this was my quest. And then the market gap was the how to make your fabric personal in a way. But this is, I just want to relate that it was when I made the quest around block printing, I thought that there was no this was told to me by my tutors in London, that it wasn't a craft that used to exist in Egypt. It was more of an Indian or Indian craft or a craft of Africa. But actually, in the Islamic era, there was like this piece is in the Islamic museum, where the blocks, the know-how actually came from India, but we had this way of producing fabric with the natural dyes, but also natural dyes were existing in the Pharaoh's era. So the block printing itself, it's like an industrial know-how that moved through different countries. I just here want to explain the idea of telling stories in a I just want to show how graphically it's translating. For example, these are each collection has a story. So for the one in the bottom, like the tree and the tree and the bird and the flower, it's all a story about the act of giving. I don't have I don't know if I have time to go through it, but I want to explain that each story has a certain value, which is a character and a scene, and each scene gets translated into a block or a series of blocks that can be printed on fabric. So each fabric can tell you a story or part of the story, and you have the small booklet or flyer explaining the idea or the symbol behind the motif. So this is how I bridge the idea of how you know what the fabric is talking about. And also some people are not really interested what behind, are interested by the quality, what the fabric is done, the craft behind. But after they get emotional with the fabric, they try to read what behind it. And some other people are other way around, they get connected to the feeling behind. So yeah, so this is, I can go through also showing you the website. So this is the idea around it. Actually, here we explain how our practice is done, the process itself, and the dyes, how we source it, and how the process is. And then if you go through our story, you find a video telling you about how we produce natural dyes, and all this sequence, we do it into our workshop. I don't know if I have time to show it. And then we have so most of the fabric all is cotton and silk, and the silk is hand woven in Egypt. The natural materials, the dye, the madder, the indigo, we get it from abroad, though it was before produced in Egypt. So we have these challenges, and then we have that each collection has a story. We try to find a way to narrate the stories. Either we do an event, or we do a social, we launch each story in a way digitally. So this is the first collection, and then the other collection was the story about being proud of yourself, even if you're different. A story of a giraffe. And then if you connect to the collection itself, you can buy pieces from our Shopify account. So that's in
amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. It's beautiful how you lay down the story from a journey of finding meaning into what you're doing to going deeper into the history of Egypt and where you come from, to translating this in, the symbols of nature, and finally to really find a new way of making things, right? Like a non-capitalist, mass-produced industrial way.
In a way,
and
it's
I'd
this.
love to hear more.
Yeah, in a way,
It is,
it's this,
and
but
I would love to hear more about what. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, but for a time, that's why my partner was she was really a breakthrough for me, because in a way I was going into loops before launching Shagara, which is, am I insane I'm trying to, because the pace of life is different. The idea of doing things that don't really relate to it is very orchestrated in a way that in every little aspect, if we try to sell, if we try, everyone is questioning you why you're doing this. And even in the beginning,
Yes.
especially putting money into this. So that's why my friend, yeah.
I don't mean to cut you. I'll be very interested to know more, maybe in our call today, into the business element and what that meant 3D for you. We have Raphael back, and I don't want to lose him because it's also
great.
he presents a different perspective. I'm very interested, Raphael, if you can get us into the why you got into the biomaterials world. What was the motive? What was the feeling or the philosophy that was driving BioLab Lisboa?
Yeah, well, first, as I was telling you, I was the head of the Fab Lab at some point, and Fab Labs do a lot of mess, actually, a lot of garbage. They are very nice, okay, digital fabrication, so good, everything distributed, everyone access to everyone, but in the end, more than half is garbage. And we produce a lot of not so nice things. Even if you use plastic and recycle plastic and all that, in the end, it's a mess because it's full of solvents, and we are into, precious plastics and all that. You can also make threads with all that plastic. But when you make plastic with, again, recycled plastic, it will be worse even than the original plastic for microparticles that are going to be loosened from it. So at some point I said, okay, maybe I should go in a different direction. And I was at some point interested, and there are some people in our community that are like biologists and people connected with, well, more with nature, the nature as they call it, nature. As an architect, I'm using a lot of materials that are not so good. And we started to think together with some friends about this. And the biomaterials, I was not driven just by biomaterials, actually. I was driven by a laboratory that could be used to create anything, or as we can say, we can grow almost anything. So we can produce stuff that won't going to harm the nature. For example, we can produce, for example, algae to produce lithium in the lab in a way that is not harm. We are not doing anything that is not so good as the I would say, the greenwashed products that are everywhere. And so the idea was, okay, we have a niche here that we can explore. And actually, when we thought about the lab, it was a little bit connected with biotechnology, the science faculty that helped us on creating the lab. But in the end, I will say like 90% of the people that are using the lab are more related to biomaterials than other stuff like DNA decoding or something really really strange. So people are more connected with tactile materials. So we went towards that. So we surfed the wave. Actually, we have like 8 or 9 researchers working at the lab. Most of them are designers or architects or artists, and they are doing stuff like, for example, Carolina was doing threads. So that can relate with this project, or we can, for example, think on how to make natural dyes, but natural dyes are natural dyes, but can also make new dyes with bacteria, for example. Why not produce bacteria into working for us, or trying to work with bioluminescence, for example, or there are so many fields around the biomaterials that you can relate. For example, with me as an architect, we have a lot of people that come from university and they don't have a lab there. So they have our lab to research. They are working, for example, with kombucha. They are working with mycelium, and so all these kind of materials that are alive and can be used in a somehow sustainable way. Because when you say sustainable, it's never completely sustainable because you are creating them, you are putting energy on that. So the idea is to minimize. And I was very focused on circular economy. I also belong to the Portuguese Association of Circular Economy Portugal. And at some point, I was working with a project that is European Bauhaus, and we were introduced to a different concept that was not just sustainable. It was regenerative. So the idea is not just to be sustainable, but also to repair what have been harming or damaging all this way during all these years. So if we can try using materials to regenerate something, or to not just to be sustainable. So I can produce something that is sustainable, but if I can do something that in the way I can also repair what we have done as humans wrongly into the nature, it's perfect. So I think this is our goal now, and it's related also with materials. So we try to do that. Yeah, sorry.
I have a very quick question for you before I open up the floor to our audience today. Also, incredible work. What a very, very interesting story. My question to you is, what is the most prominent biomaterial application in our world? Like, what would you say is coming out of these experimentation with materials that you would say would have a real life application and has potential to maybe substitute the use of another less sustainable material, for example, or yeah.
One too easy will be biomaterials for packaging, because packaging is one of the biggest waste production there is, namely regards plastics. But for example, if you are tackling with CO2, so the biggest pollutant is construction, actually. So above even fashion. Fashion is also a big polluter. So you can also produce a lot of materials or biomaterials for like fabrics and all that. But I will say we can go towards construction materials, and we can also go into, sorry, what's here? So there are three fields, I will say. Construction with biomaterials. For example, if you check our Instagram, we were working with a project, working with the oysters and all that, and creating, I would say, bioceramics that don't need to be fired at a kiln. For example, can produce ceramics without heat. So that's, I think, great. Another one will be packaging, and the other one will be clothing industry. Yeah. So these three kind of materials
so construction
are ready to go.
And packaging.
If you go to Louis Vuitton, if you go to all those guys, they all have those vegan leathers that are not leather. They are produced in labs with bacteria and fungus. So actually, it's the way to go. Now it's expensive, but you can do it in your lab at home, actually. So the problem is always mass producing, but I don't know if you need that. Actually, I don't think we need it.
Exactly. And this is basically what Amar is also presenting with her type that we'd hear more about in a second, with her type of business, basically, and her type of model. We have a question from Sophia, and she was asking if she wants to know more about the dialogue between traditional techniques and material innovation. Is the biolab helping the traditional techniques or craft to be preserved? Are traditional craft involved in some way? Like, are you seeking knowledge from, are you getting some of your knowledge from older forms of knowledge, I would say?
Yeah, true. For example, I'm now with some volunteers translating an old manual from the 18th century about old formulas to create some materials. One of them actually is using the spider silk, actually, how to mass produce that in the 19th century. So how to create colors with natural dyes, how to produce with fish scales some glues. And actually I was working with some our partners, for example, making glues. It's for example, with cherry trees resin, for example, is a project that we have we are working with. We are working with Soad. She's a Tunisian designer. She's working a lot with olive trees, so the fibers from olive trees for packaging, for example, or for producing paper and other, I would say, fabric-like materials. So yeah, I think we have a lot of projects that we can relate with all this. So old crafts also connect with us. We were inviting. I think it was when my call failed, went down. I was talking about a challenge that we launched to designers. For example, there are a group of two designers that are Mashaya are two designers, and they are working with renovating the way we see basketry. And we invited them with others, and we made some workshops with them just to present them some kind of materials that they can work differently. And so now they are
Did you
mixing those
say
two.
basketry?
Basketry, yeah, basketry. So making baskets.
Like baskets?
Yeah, baskets. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they are designers
Just
that
making
are
sure.
working on that. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry for my pronunciation. And in a way, so that we can use like mixing, mixing it, for example, with bioceramics, mixing it natural dyes. Or synthetic dyes, I would say synthetic, but made at the lab in a natural way. And we can also relate that now they have an exhibition. Actually, we have an exhibition in a museum here, and in that exhibition, they made a, how do you say, not a curtain, like yeah, it's like a curtain. Then so they are using like crustaceans and algae doing that. They were using, fibers. Now they are using that with a little bit different technique, but they are mixing it. So yeah, for example, the block printing. We also have a challenge of someone that was doing block printing with that. So they were like, line. I don't know the name in English, but it's linoleum. So you just carve like linoleum, and then you are using natural dyes for. So we are doing. It's not exactly block printing, but we are doing that. So there are researchers doing that too. Yeah, so we are also making screen printing, for example, screen printing with some dyes produced at the lab also. So it's not completely traditional, but screen printing is also a nice way to go with arts and all those traditional designs. Yeah, so I'll say yes.
I feel like it's like biomaterial hacking or inventions is like the intersection between the past and the future in a way. We're going into a future hopefully with more sustainable materials that would be rooted down in traditional knowledge and how it's being done, and maybe even invent further on that. If I may comment like that.
Yeah, I would say that.
So I would like to see if we have some questions from. Oh, sorry. No, go ahead, please.
No, I was just saying it depends on the user. So we are open lab. So if you have traditional people working with traditional ways to work, so we are going to use our knowledge and their knowledge and we mix it, and then we see what is going out. But yeah, that's the way we work.
Amazing. So we're opening more the floor to our audience today, who might be having questions or even just interventions with their kind of work if it relates to what we're talking about today. And Nandita, please.
Hello, hi Amar, and hi Rafael.
Hi Nandita.
Hello Rafael, hello again. So I'm from India. Yeah, Rafael and I are friends, and it's so glad to see both your work. It's amazing. And Amar, both of you, congratulations. And Amar, having worked with block printing in Jaipur, I know how hard it is. I have worked extensively with Sankaneri and Bagru printing. So congratulations again on like the work that you have done. So I understand like it is so hard, especially like to replicate it and to do it in another country where it is not inherent to do it. So I was wondering how you were able to do it, like especially the precision of the designs that you have to do. One part is the carpentry, and then the actual block, the doing or the printing with the block. So how did you find artisans, and how were you able to like teach them this skill? So I'm curious to understand that.
Yeah, Thank you for your question. Actually, I didn't find the artisan. We did it all again. Yani I started it. I teach a friend, apprentice. There were some of them from applied art, and some are not from applied art. Because even in applied art in Egypt, it's not taught, and even in London, it's not taught yet. But for the carpentry, we have something in Egypt called oima, which is a very intricate way of carving, but it's a 3D way. So for the block, it's just a 2D. But actually, I went not to Jaipur, I went to Jodhpur. And then the thing, but I want to tell you, the level of detailing that the Indian has, you can't compete with it. The level of how they produce the block, and it's that's how, when I went I went for the workshop, the block printer, he's teaching me, but I know, and he knows that I can't compete with him. The level of intricacy, that the level also of knowledge that is embedded in how they dye. There are things that I've not told. So when I came back to Egypt, that's why it was very challenging when I was alone, because every color was not coming. The water is different. Everything is different. So I have like the sketchbook of every detailing we do, and then we have always, when we get back in the beginning, I got all the dyes from India, and then I started figuring out what I have in Egypt. So now I'm almost having all of them, but not indigo. And then I started experimenting, and even now, when if I'm out of madder, I have to get new madder. We have to experiment because the shades are not the same. So it's the experimentation is always with us, and it's really this is the challenge, because the know-how how to, and that's why also on the business side, when I was starting, no one was in putting money, because you're inventing a whole industry that is not there anymore. It's very expensive, and even to sell the fabric, that's also a challenging thing, that I have to write that there is what they find on the website. When they have the fabric, the color can be a different shade. But the problem, because I'm doing the whole workshop from the beginning, so I can't just produce and stop, because I taught people, and if if I stop, the know-how will go. So I have to continue even if I'm not selling, So I'm spending just for the know-how to continue. But on the other hand, what happens is that the fabric or the end product gets very expensive in a way, and it makes you that your client is very elite, that he won't accept that there is a shade that is not exactly what he wants, But so the fabric went in Egypt in a very niche market.
Wow, that just to name one challenge. Sorry, Nadita, do you have a follow-up? I saw you unmute.
Yeah, just a follow-up question. So the wood that you're using, is it did you have another wood there that to make the blocks, or?
In the beginning, I was sticking to thick wood and exactly what I had, because it doesn't get affected by water, and then afterwards I found that in any way I have to produce a lot of blocks, and the block can get it can get broken. So I do from the same block different ones that are not very expensive as the material of teak, and they stand for, they don't break. But actually, if you will compare my designs to the Indian designs, the designs are very intricate. My designs are more graphical, so it goes okay. But what you do, no one can compete with the Indians in any way. This is how I see it. It's a very how to say, it's an artistic culture. It's so in their DNA. So, but yeah.
Amazing.
Raphael,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Raphael, please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I also have a question. Have you ever tried to carve it so the blocks are carved? But have you ever thought on carving them digitally? Because at some point we had a proposal from a girl, for a designer from Bangladesh, when I was at the Fab Lab, to make a workshop on block printing. But I said, well, if it has to be at the Fab Lab, we have to mix it with some digital way to do it. So the idea was to, she was printing with, I don't know how many colors, but maybe 6 or 7. I think it can go up to 12 or around that, to make it easier. So the idea was to use the CNC router, so to carve the blocks at some point. I was just asking, so this was mixing like a traditional art with something, so it could be done elsewhere. So if, for example, if you have some blocks, they could be scanned and done at another lab in the world. So is it possible? Have you ever thought on doing that?
Yeah, it is possible. Actually, the first blocks I did in because I tried in London before graduating, it was done in CNC because I do the drawings. We do it on paper, and we experiment with paper, and then I do it all on Illustrator. So it's easy to be carved digitally. But the thing is, I don't know, maybe it's too romantic what I'm saying, but I think that there is this level of when also you carve it with hand. I'm not the carving person, but it puts layer in part of the what, because I tried digital printing, I tried screen printing, and I produced actually in London screen printing with natural dyes. There is something in the block printing that makes it it mixes between graphics, and it mixes between the very simple way of producing a pattern, and it makes this little imperfection makes it more humane. So even when I do the layer of graphics and then I give it to the wood carver, he puts his part, and then the printer. So this is how I think I fell in love in block printing like this. But I can't make the argument all the time if it is efficient or it's not efficient or like this.
Yeah, and it's a big conversation that keeps bringing me back to the struggles that the type of work you and Raphael do into translating into the real, not real, in the business world, in like how could these
there is something that is very interesting in the work of Raphael, and I think it's a higher level of questioning. And this is what he was saying about Fab Lab, because I know small other projects working with recycling plastic, and then you think you're doing something that is recyclable, but it ends up the environment itself, the smell is horrible. So you find that you're doing something also that it's not really viable. There is a quest also in natural dye, that natural dye seems very nice and the environment is very nice, but also, and this was since I was studying, it uses a lot of water. And so the idea of regenerative or new dyes or things like this, natural dye is very good, but it uses a lot of water. It's a good environment, yes, but sometimes there is a lot of waste because you don't get the exact color you want. So if you want to question it, there is a lot of questioning around it.
And amazing. Thank you for giving us the full picture also because there's a lot that happens in this world of alternative and regenerative and sustainable, is that it's overinflated, or there isn't, sometimes I think we avoid talking about the full consequences and what we go into because what we're trying to the alternative is really bad for the environment. So we're also like giving in, as Raphael said, this is like the second, like this is better in a way. It's not necessarily that it's not generating waste. It's not necessarily that it's sustainable 100%, but it's when you compare it to what exists, it might be a more sustainable.
And actually, what led me to
solution.
natural dyes, and I used to be the person that was very graphical. I like strong colors. So that's why I wasn't going to natural dye, but I tried because I was producing screen printing with chemical dyes, and it really affected my health. So I came from another way that is very also out of practice. So this is also a thing that you have something that can be very effective, and you have the strong color, you have everything, but the environment where you produce it, it's very harmful in a way to your health. So this is
amazing. And there are already people leaving. We started a tiny bit late, so I was kind of pushing into a few minutes more. Raphael, would you like to say something as an end to today? First of all, before we end, I would love to thank you both, Omar and Raphael, for this incredible input and your openness and honesty into sharing your experiences and your work and the stories behind them of why you came into this work in the first place. I think the story is equally as important to the product, to the thing that we're trying to create. And this is the whole world that we're trying to explore. If we call it sustainable fashion or call it any other thing, I think the same values would replicate and apply in so many different fields. So thank you so much for both of you for taking the time to be here today and to share your work. Raphael, I hand over to you if you would like to also end today with some reflection.
Okay. First of all, sorry for the problem with my presentation. I just tell you if you can just then after, when you have time, just jump to our Instagram and see our stories and all that, because there was a lot that I didn't told you about all this, because about natural dyes, about Fabric Academy, for example, and we are involved in all those. And I will say as a reflection, I think the sustainability should be revised. So as I was talking before, and so I think we should go toward regenerative way of working. And even when, for example, there is a contest or something like that, and we are taking all the responsible people around some kind of project, there should be always someone named to be responsible for example, for the nature. I don't know if you know the SWOP approach for projects, is naming someone that is responsible for the non-speakers or for the nature or around all. This concept is important because we are always thinking on us as humans and nature, but it's humans that are taking care. But you should also think, well, maybe birds will think in a different way. So you should add a layer that is who is representing them in a way that nature is somehow be taking care of. So that's just my take for now. And yes, thank you, Fadia, so much for the invitation, and thank you all that's been here listening to us. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We'll be sending the recording and a follow-up to this. If you want to stay in touch with Omar and Raphael, we'll share also their contact. Thank you very much, everyone. And I hope you've enjoyed this. We'll see you next month for a deeper Laos conversation. By the looks of it, we might be having two incredible speakers from Latin America this time. So we'll continue roaming the globe for incredible, inspiring stories from our living rooms. What an incredible privilege. And thank you all for being here. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.